Hello to everybody. Like Nick said, what I'll do first is introduce myself briefly, although um, Nick sort of already did that. Uh, have recently joined Nimble Commerce, but have been familiar with them for um, over 2 years. Previously, before being with Nimble, I was running digital media at Yell in the U.S., which would be known by this audience probably under the name Yellowbook, yellowbook.com. So all their digital media products in the SEM space, performance advertising, SEO, mobile, social, and then of course things like daily deals and loyalty and things like that. The sales force at Yell was in the U.S. was around 3,000 sales reps. So among other things, my team was supplying the products that I just mentioned to those sales reps to sell, and we did very, very well. That business grew, 50% over the last 3 years. Obviously, in a difficult environment for a traditional media company, where the traditional media revenues, in the print publication are declining. So the spotlight was on us, and the need to have great products that were easy to sell, that would really perform for local and national businesses and advertisers was critically important. So I became familiar with Nimble Commerce because we selected Nimble Commerce as a deal sourcer and a deal publisher while I was at Yale. So we were very familiar with their capabilities and the growth of their network, the addition of publishers and the addition of capabilities to their platform. So those are some of the things I'm going to, besides giving you a background on me, those are some of the things that I'm going to go through in this presentation today. So I'm sure most people on the call are quite familiar with the daily deal space. The obvious, 800-pound gorilla in the space has been, for the better part of 2.5, 3 years, has been Groupon, and they're really Groupon identified a number of things with the opportunity and sort of exposed and in a certain sense took advantage of a number of things in the space. Number one, and we saw this even when I was at Yale, that there is a big movement across local and national advertisers to transactional models, to performance-based models, etc. You have CPM rates for display declining. Performance is the name of the game, certainly at the higher end of the market. When you're looking at, like on this chart, for example, when you look at Amazon, Walmart, Macy's, Target, etc., and the list goes on, they're already there from a performance perspective. But as you work your way down the chain into the publisher world, and you have companies like Yell, or even in some of these other listings like golfnow.com, philly.com, which is essentially the Philadelphia Inquirer, they're calling on local advertisers of all shapes and sizes, so local moms and pops to regional to national as well. And the bottom line is that as you look at all of those different advertiser types and sizes, you've got quite a shift going on from traditional subscription form advertising like CPM rates, etc., to true transactional models that are in the digital world predicated around e-commerce. So the growth of e-commerce is really, in our view, just really in its infancy, from the standpoint of it continues to work its way down the value chain, or down the retailer size chain, from national, who are already there, to medium size, to local, which is really the opportunity that Groupon took advantage of. So when we look at what Nimble Commerce has, it basically facilitates anybody who has an audience, or B, an ability to obtain deals from local merchants or national merchants or whatever. It's a full end-to-end platform that allows that to happen. So if you're a publisher with millions of eyeballs, online eyeballs, etc., you're a great partner for Nimble Commerce. If you are really, really good at interacting with merchants, whether they're local, medium-sized, or national in scope, you're also a great partner for Nimble Commerce because your sourcing power is extraordinary. And then, really with the platform that Nimble has, the ability to kind of offer all those services in a single integrated offering. So if you have national, local retailers, whatever, you can offer packages that include the ability to offer daily deals, loyalty programs, other forms of advertising, managed CRM, and an overall marketing program for those advertisers, with kind of e-commerce as, I would say, the common component, as well as a whole host of other things, including tracking and fulfillment and targeting and email marketing and things like that kind of woven in. So that's kind of sets the stage here, I think, for the rest of the presentation as a backdrop for who we are. Just a little bit about the company. It was founded several years ago. It was a company that already had its roots in e-commerce and shopping. The DNA of the company, there's a site called iamshopping.com, which is a social media kind of shopping site. If any of you have heard, some of you may have heard of it. There's also a site called ThisNext, which is not owned by Nimble Commerce, but a similar sort of thing where it's a social environment with people making recommendations and reviews about merchants and products and things like that. And obviously, with the platform that Nimble has, the ability to actually purchase those products as well. So the team has been in e-commerce and software development and sort of online transactional services for many, many years. 60 employees based in Silicon Valley, also doing tremendously well in Europe, particularly the UK and France, and also kind of in the Nordics area. There's just a lot of growth happening in Europe right now, and in fact, we have employees there as well, just embracing the growth of the daily deals and loyalty and e-commerce market in those markets as well. Just to give you an idea of the scale of what is transacted on Nimble's platform, current transaction volume, as you can see here, is $180 million annualized. That's the total amount when you add up all the transactions, all the purchases of deals, etc. That's the total amount annually that Nimble Commerce generates. In 2012, we're seeing a significant amount of growth, from both because of growth with our existing partners, growth in the amount of deals being sourced, and international expansion, among other things. So it's a platform that many publishers and deal sources are relying upon to be able to really handle a beyond enterprise grade volume of transactions from a dollar perspective. Just to give you a glimpse of who Nimble works with, some really, really big names. And really the main sort of profile of these types of partners are either publishers who have a large consumer audience, trafficking through their websites, or, like I said in the other example, companies like Yellow Book, where I came from, or newspapers in particular, that have a high degree of touch with local merchants, or in a perfect world, a combination of both. So you look at Patch or Philly.com in particular, and I could cite other examples from this list. They have both sales reps who are actually out there talking to local merchants, sourcing deals, getting deals from them to be published. And then they also have websites that have a significant amount of traffic, where those deals can be published and consumed by users of those news organizations. So really, in a perfect world, it's both. But we have many partners that do one of those two models better than the other. And as I go through this, you'll see how the Nimble platform can facilitate partners who may be only strong in one particular area versus the other. So it's an all-in-one solution. It is a true platform, and what comes with that is distribution to millions of avid buyers, and that gets to really the publisher and the strength of their audience, as I was alluding to just a moment ago. Obviously, it is a deals and offers network, and so we'll touch on this as I go through the presentation on several fronts. But what Nimble has created is not just a platform that is intended to be used by one particular partner. For example, Patch or SFGate or Yellow Book, for that matter, just to use a couple of examples. They can both obtain deals from the entire network. In other words, they don't just have to source their own deals, and they can publish deals really from anybody, or they can be sourcers in the same way into that network. So it's similar in a sense to Google Offers, but it's a little bit more powerful in that the targeting capabilities are pretty extraordinary because you've got different types of publishers. So as different deal sourcers bring deals into the network, they can be sort of optimized based on the type of publisher who's going to publish that deal. So it's a long way of saying, if I'm Patch or SF Gate, I don't have to just take deals that my sales reps are out there talking to local merchants. I don't have to take just those deals. If my deal volume is low, or if I want to get just deals that I think are a little better targeted for my users, I can actually pull from other partners on this network and put them out for consumption to my buyers. So that kind of gives you an idea. And then obviously, going back to the enterprise grade nature of it, it's totally secure. It's been through every form of network testing and security testing possible. That happens, literally on a monthly basis. So the security is obviously very key because we're holding on to, literally millions of credit card numbers for people who are consistently buying deals from us. And behind that, we've got, partner management. We've got, obviously great reporting, tracking, and analytics, and the depth of experience to really make this whole engine work together, really connecting merchants to buyers through publishing partners. So whether those merchants are at a national brand level or at a local level, using this platform, the network, allows that connection between merchant and buyer to happen. So just in terms of the economics of this type of business and the opportunity for brands and publishers, et cetera, really there's a number of ways to monetize what this platform delivers. So there's kind of selling deals sourced from the marketplace. So again, if you have no sales force of your own, you have really little or no one out there beating the streets, whether it's with local advertisers or national advertisers, but you have a large audience and you want to offer deals to them, this is a great platform for that. And on average, when you look at like that $300 million number, obviously no single partner is going to be doing $300 million, but whatever your gross revenue is in terms of deal sales, you will on average see 15 to 20% of that gross revenue straight into your pocket as a partner. So with only a minimal amount of promotion on the site, especially for sites that have a propensity to attract buyers and deal seekers in the first place, it's just literally extra revenue that can be added to the revenue mix that you already have. On the flip side, like I said before, you can also, maybe you're a company that has a high amount of touch with local merchants, and I would sort of cite Yell and Yellow Book as an example of that, where I was previously. A high amount of touch with local merchants, but don't have necessarily a huge audience, like an AOL might have or something like that. You can source deals and put them into this ecosystem, and really take advantage of the fact that the other publishers have a large user base and have a lot of potential buyers, and you can see 30% gross revenue from all the deals that are sold through that approach. So the two different sides, and I alluded to that earlier. And then you can distribute deals to the marketplace, and the marketplace is really a bidding platform, and see about 10 to 15% gross revenue there. And as I said in the last couple slides, in practice, many publishers participate in all three levels. I'd say almost all of them try to. You find some that are just inherently better than others in maybe one aspect out of the three. Or two aspects out of the three. But there are plenty of partners, when you look at I'll lift up Affili.com as an example. They've got great selling resources. They've got an avid reader base and user base, in the Philly area, and hence they happen to participate across all three layers and do very well at it. So that's an example of somebody who's kind of exceeding in all three. So with the growth of the Nimble network, what that means is that if you're a brand, if as a national advertiser, if you're a publisher or a deal sourcer, this platform is now being embraced. And I'll say as an aside, that Nimble is the largest platform player in the daily deal space, and there are other players in the space, but Nimble is the largest from the standpoint they have the most publishers, they really have the most deal sourcers, some of whom are the same companies in some cases, as illustrated in the last slide, and they are growing, with the number of deals going through the platform with those. So when you kind of add up their who's who, that list that I showed you at the very beginning of the presentation, that makes them the most in terms of volume of partners, volume of transactions through all those partners, and I would also argue from a quality perspective, they've kind of got the best and brightest of a lot of the people who are early adopters to the daily deal space. In addition to that, as mentioned, the company has a presence in Europe already. That the business in Europe is growing extremely fast. So all of the infrastructure and e-commerce transaction capabilities that started in the U.S. now are essentially available in Europe, with an emphasis on the fact that means that there's multiple currency support, not just euros but other denominations as well in Europe, and the company's also expanding beyond that to include Latin America, so currency and language support for those countries as well, and places like Australia and moving into Asia, etc. In Canada, we've got a great partner in the Yellow Pages publisher up there, so we do very well in Canada as well. So just the key thing with Nimble is it's one of the reasons that they have been able to establish themselves as the leader in the kind of platform daily deals space is because of their platform. And like I said, it actually was developed, I would say, certainly at the same time as or prior to Groupon. So Groupon, was building their business. Nimble Commerce had already launched and was actively running I Am Shopping, which was effectively an e-commerce site, but also a deal site as well. So the platform is time tested first and foremost. Its technical capabilities are the best out there, and the feature sets I think are best of breed vis-a-vis any other partners or players out there as well. And I can attest to this because we launched almost all of these things when I was at Yell. So when you build a daily deals site through Nimble's platform, when I say you, I actually mean that Nimble does it for the partner. You're obviously getting a private labeled, completely customized, under your look and feel website to fully take a user through the deal discovery, purchasing, and redemption process under your brand. In addition to that, Nimble also provides a mobile version of that. So, we know that, well, I shouldn't say we know. Email marketing is the most effective digital marketing tool available to promote daily deals. There's other things that do well. Promotions on radio do very well, but the sort of tried and true, time-tested, best way to do things is definitely through email marketing. So, because of the structural shift of user habits from online to mobile, the fact that Nimble provides a mobile website that can do the full e-commerce transaction end-to-end is critically important. So that's like an HTML5 based website. If the user hasn't downloaded one of the apps, which is the next point on this slide, is that they also provide downloadable apps under your brand in iTunes, in the App Store, or in the Android Marketplace, etc. So you've got online web property developed by Nimble for full daily deals transactions. You've got mobile websites provided for full transactions for daily deals, and then you've got the applications also private labeled, available in the various app stores and marketplaces as well. So there's almost no place that there isn't a place where you can't reach a user, that you want to reach with the Nimble platform. Coming off of a display ad, coming off of a Google AdSense ad, or coming off more likely than not some form of email marketing. In addition to that, the daily deal space obviously has attracted a lot of news, Groupon in particular, about kind of what's next and where it's going, with the idea that there's phrases like deal fatigue, and there's a couple of years ago there's all these stories about individual merchants who actually sold way too many vouchers on Groupon, and instances where they were nearly put on the precipice of going out of business and all that. So a lot of the people inside and outside the industry, even though the space is still growing, quite healthily, the question has been, okay, what's next? What are you going to do for merchants to make it so that they don't sell a manicure pedicure at 50% off, sell it to 2,000 people who they never see again? So that goes back to my point at the very beginning, which is that this is really about a retailer, national or local, marketing advertising platform, so that you can actually promote your business in a way that's really holistic, that doesn't just do daily deals and get people through the door that way, but in fact, with loyalty programs, surveys, and other forms of outreach, are actually creating full kind of promotion and advertising programs that allow kind of the shock and awe of the daily deal, getting people in the door, but then the ongoing sort of customer retention through things like loyalty, and in a little while we'll talk about CRM and other things, to keep a long-term relationship that the merchant is seeking between they and the users who may initially have gotten their deal. I talked ad nauseum about the fully customizable website. Would also like to touch on the fact that the platform integrates with social media, email marketing platforms like Cheetah Mail, etc., other payment gateways. So what's nice about the Nimble platform is that it can do a lot of this stuff on its own. So if in the unlikely event that a partner doesn't have a relationship with a company like Cheetah Mail or something like that, for email marketing, the Nimble platform actually does email marketing. But we see the majority of partners that we talk to already have that, and so the great thing is that the platform can leverage that. There are other partners who don't have it; they're in the minority. So if they don't have an email marketing platform, the Nimble platform can actually provide the email marketing functionality for them. Same thing with payment gateways. Because of our roots in e-commerce, of course, we have our own payment gateways. But there are other partners that we work with, and this is probably a little bit closer to 50-50, if not in the minority, who say, hey, I already have my own payment gateway, let's just leverage that. So the other thing is couponing is big, so not just doing daily deals, but also allowing merchants to publish and promote coupons related to their brand or to their store. And then obviously we talked about the reporting capability. So there's a full partner reporting portal to manage the entire process, including the creation of deals and the submission of deals and the publishing and scheduling of deals, tied into all the email marketing functionality I talked about, and then also to see how deals are performing, to see how many sold on which day, in which market, in which verticals, et cetera, and then obviously to be able to track all of the billing and payment processing and everything associated with that. But on top of that, there's also the same for merchants. So if you're Patch or GolfNow.com or whoever, and you've sold a daily deal program to a local merchant, they also will have the ability to log in and see how their deal did and be able to manage it to some degree and understand how much revenue they're going to make, and be able to manage the redemption process so that when people walk in with vouchers, they can sort of click and check them off the list and say, okay, John Smith came in with his his $20 off voucher, he redeemed it, and so he can no longer use it and track it that way. So it's really end to end on the partner side, be you publisher, sourcer, or both, as well as extending it down to the merchant so that they can take advantage of these tools as well. And so it's really a complete platform from that perspective. So the services component is really key. At Yell, we were already in the business of creating websites, advertising, videos, mobile websites, obviously print ads, in our origin and our roots. So we had a fulfillment engine that did a lot of the things on here. But what's great about Nimble Commerce is that in the event that you don't have something like that Yell had. I mean, Yell again had 3,000 sales reps, had 500,000 digital online customers, and about 1 million customers if you include print. So we had the ability to do a lot of these things, but not all partners will. And so Nimble's got the ability to come in and help with the marketing services like strategic deal programs, like, do we want to go after certain verticals, certain deal types, certain deal, certain national brands, etc. We can work with you on that. Customer acquisition and retention support, I think that comes through the people at Nimble, but also comes through some of the other products and services like I talked about with respect to loyalty and CRM in particular. And then I mentioned about the fact that that not only does the platform do email, so it's not just a question of doing it, but it also has, I'd say, beyond basic email targeting capabilities as well. So if you're a big publisher with conceivably millions of users, or even a big brand who already talks to millions of buyers and consumers, you probably already have this. But the great thing, like I said, is not only does Nimble have it, but in addition to that, there's targeting capabilities that allow the right deal to match and flow to the right user. Also, merchandising services. This goes back to the point I was making about Yell, is that the whole idea, when you write a deal, when you sell a deal, that has to be cleverly written and created and conceived so that it's compelling and attractive to users. So Nimble provides services like that as well. Again, at Yell, we had that. But Nimble is extremely good at it. They understand the space very well and can provide those services also. Implicit with the whole website discussion that I made is obviously site design, implementation, and build out. The mobile site we talked about. And then in addition to that, there's a toolkit that can be accessed that creates a whole series of display ads, all in different IAB formats, and other types of advertising unit creation and social media integration tools to basically get the deal out into onto your site, onto other sites, into ad networks, what have you. So it's got all those capabilities, because a deal has to be promoted in some form. Now, as a partner, if you're already a deal site, perhaps, and you have an avid following of users, you may find that just listing a deal on your site is enough for you. But if you feel that you need to do cross-site promotion or ad network promotion, there's all these ad unit creation tools to allow you to do that. We talked a lot already about the roots in e-commerce. I won't go any further into that, other than to say that Nimble Commerce, with its e-commerce background, has got all the interfaces and gateways, etc., to allow the merchant to accept payments, to allow the flow of the money from deal buyer through to the publishers, who, as we saw in earlier slides, get their cut of the revenue, and then flowing down obviously to the merchant as well, and then the full customer support for all of the e-commerce and billing aspects that come up. And it's actually surprising. It's having run a daily deal site at Yell, there's far less customer service issues than I would have ever imagined. Our customer services, I never got an email or a phone call from our customer service team saying, hey, we put out this deal and now our phones are ringing off the hook because people don't understand how to redeem it, or there's conflicts in what the terms and conditions are. That we never would get any of that. But suffice it to say that Nimble provides some layer of that in the event that you should need it. And then we talked about the reports. There's standard reports across, like I said, the partner portal, the merchant interface, as I talked about earlier. But then you can also get custom reporting from Nimble that really specifically would address particular needs that you as a partner would have. So just looking at the future, I touched on some of these a few moments ago. But I think this picture on the right is a great picture, because the daily deal space has been it's been an incredibly hot, attractive space, and it's also it's been polarizing in a sense that between the horror stories a couple of years ago of little merchants being nearly driven out of business by Groupon because they oversold coupons that the local merchant couldn't handle. I love this image of an iceberg. The iceberg, yes, daily deals are truly, in a good sense, the tip of the iceberg, and these other things, which I'll discuss here in a moment, follow from it. But early on, it was an iceberg that there were ships like Groupon, or small boats like local merchants running into and sinking. So I do like this particular image. But this platform takes deals into the next generation and offers merchants this portfolio of related services, and classic coupons is one. So now as a business, there's a whole coupon creation and distribution capability. In other words, not a daily deal, but a always available, or for some period of time available coupon. So there's basically, you can offer that as a part of the package. There's now CRM and yield management. The CRM is really important. I'd say loyalty and CRM are, some people see them the same way. We actually see them different. Whether you're getting into things like on the loyalty side, punch cards and point systems and things like that to create a true loyalty program in the digital age, and CRM to do actual outreach. So now you've had people buy your deals. You've now got an ability to package together those buyers and remarket to them, and actually put that as a part of a marketing program that you would offer to a national or local advertiser. We talked about merchant directories, so that's valuable information for national brands, and also for directory publishers and things like that, to get data about what merchants are selling, and what things are really gravitating for them as far as products and services offered through a daily deals program that really makes sense for users, and all of the data behind that tells both merchants and publisher partners what performs best based on demographics, based on geography, etc. So there's a lot of data behind that. And reputation management is another new component of the platform that will be coming out. So the ability for, I think probably most people on this call are pretty familiar with reputation management, taking that down to a local level. So if you're a user of Radian 6 or something like that, which is kind of one of the best of breed Salesforce.com reputation management platforms, which work great at the sort of enterprise level and above, but when you're talking about daily deals, you also have to consider that this is an area that is very heavily accessed and used by local merchants, and so you need a reputation management tool that can work for a local merchant as well, and so we're going to be offering that as well. So as you can see, a whole array to create a platform that packages up kind of a new breed of services that aren't just about the tip of the iceberg, as you see in this particular slide, but also offers an array of services that really take what is great about daily deals, which is creating a relationship between a merchant and a buyer, and then reinforcing it with loyalty and coupons and CRM and other reputation management, etc., to strengthen and really make a long-term life cycle to that relationship. Again, just kind of reinforcing, this is kind of a look at the platform and how the long-term strategy is supported by it. I'd say that probably the idea that you've got deals already completely baked and out there and in business for the better part of 3 years, loyalty program which is coming out right in the next quarter or sooner as well, the ad platform and the ad creation capabilities that we talked about, and the coupon engine, and obviously when I said loyalty, implicit in that is CRM, all tied into this network as well. So everything that you could do with daily deals in terms of being able to distribute them, source a deal, and either publish it yourself or allow other partners on the Nimble network to publish it, all of these other things will be able to leverage the Nimble network of partners as well. So I mean, just going to the right there, just looking at the local marketing space is still, obviously there's a lot of transition going on from traditional and offline to online, and companies fighting over who's going to own that shift. But what it's done is it's really still expanded the spend that's happening. But the difference is that you have the need for transaction-based advertising and performance, and so that with that shift from traditional and offline to online, what Nimble's offering is critically important, because I can tell you, coming from a company like Yell, local merchants really wanted fundamentally 2 or 3 things. They wanted a phone to ring. They wanted, so they could try to close the lead themselves. They wanted somebody to walk in their door, and implicit with those 2 things, they wanted a qualified lead associated with that would actually convert. And because those are what their needs are, having a performance-based platform that offers performance-based services, performance marketing, is important because they're looking for results. And the old world order of being able to do, offline, just flat subscription-based services, whether it's radio, TV, print, or whatever, those days are they are changing to an online world where local businesses and national businesses need and want to be online, but they also need the performance analytics and understanding of their ROI to go along with it. So that's the great thing, I think, about Nimble's platform, is that it thrives in this structural transition. So as you can see, it's just an overall growing space that Nimble is here to help companies take advantage of, and that's what the platform does. So just looking at some of the basics of what these new services that are coming out, and both what the value proposition is in the revenues. I'll try not to just read this off for you guys, but obviously with daily deals, we know what that does. It gets people in the door. It acquires customers, and it definitely drives a lot of revenue. The question mark, as I said in the past, absent these other services that I've talked about, is does it create a loyal customer? Is that customer coming back? And so I think there were some legitimate questions about that in past years, and so hence the Nimble platform now embarks on these new things like coupons, loyalty, and directory listings, as I talked about in earlier parts of the discussion. But you can see here what coupons kind of take daily deals to another layer, but continue the new customer acquisition model, and obviously they can be offered to merchants on a subscription or performance basis. And then obviously we talked quite a bit about loyalty. Loyalty and CRM are kind of the key thing. So you've got these new customers. Now let's put in programs that keep them coming back and make them loyal. And then obviously with directory information, you can increase the SEO of both your site, of merchants' website, etc., and also dovetail in like social media marketing and reputation management and all of those things on a subscription basis. So there's lots of things here for a publisher to offer in either standalone daily deals, if one chooses, or in this what I kind of call a continuum packaged marketing services for small, medium, and large businesses and brands, at the national level. So this just kind of reinforces, okay, so I have these different things that Nimble offers. This is more of just kind of coaching on when do you do them. So daily deals, you don't do those often. Just one, to avoid deal fatigue. Number two, you don't need to. Between the horror stories that I've alluded to several times from a couple of years ago of businesses, getting sort of attacked by the 3,000 deal purchasers, you can't do that every month and expect to stay in business. So you use daily deals strategically 2 to 4 times per year. You have obviously the sorry about that, print coupons, which you do much more frequently. Those I would kind of call those somewhat persistent, and it's still about new customer acquisition, but usually the offers aren't as aggressive. The distribution of the coupons is different than how you do a daily deal, and so you can keep those out there more persistently. You obviously can do private offers too, where there's a much tighter, whether you want to call them flash deals, or a much tighter targeting to a select list of people. So those can be done more frequently because your take rate's going to be greater, but your volume's going to be lower. So that's just something that you can do as well. And then the directory is always on. So having deals and information about you as a merchant out in the ecosystem and published out on social media sites and on directory sites and other things, advertising your business and your promotions is an always-on sort of thing, and that's fundamentally the business that Yell's in. But there's obviously other great companies like CitySearch and Patch and others who will play in that space as well. And so that's the end of my formal presentation. I didn't even look at the watch, but I think, Nick, I stayed pretty true to exactly what I said, which would be a little less than an hour in total time. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect, Mike. Thank you very much. Am I coming through okay in terms of the sound?
I'm hearing you fine.
Okay, great. So we do have a follow-up question, and that is there an opportunity for e-commerce sites that have not traditionally participated in the daily deal space to start participating? Or given the increased features that are being added to the daily deal space, is there an opportunity for those e-commerce sites to start participating in the future?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Thank you. And I'm probably a pretty decent guy to ask that question to, because prior to, I didn't give my full bio, but prior to being at Yell for the last 3 years, 4 years prior to that, I ran business development at PriceGrabber.com. And PriceGrabber.com fancies itself an e-commerce site. They are a combination of lead generation for online merchants by creating the comparison format for users to sift through products, etc. And as well, they also, for merchants who don't have any online capabilities, they actually provided e-commerce for merchants. So I'll answer it from that perspective and say absolutely. And the part of the business that I ran was the partner syndication business. So PriceGrabber powered AOL Shopping. They powered MSN Shopping, which has morphed a few times. It was Bing once. It was MSN Offers. It's changed a few times. But Yahoo Shopping is powered by PriceGrabber, etc. And Roadrunner, Time Warner, a lot of ISP portals, their shopping sections powered by PriceGrabber. The reason I bring that up is that all of them, to a partner, were coveted the deal space. And so PriceGrabber, wasn't nimble commerce, quite frankly. So we tried to sort of cobble together, daily deals sorts of things. But absolutely, if you're an e-commerce site, you look at Best Buy. Best Buy has its own form of daily deals that it offers to users. And if you go down a lot of the big major brands, there's no question that if you're a brand that's running an e-commerce site, or an e-commerce site, now obviously from the question I don't know the full context of the type of e-commerce site that you're talking about, but people who buy stuff are absolutely the type of people that you want to target with daily deal offers. It can also spread the number of buyers you have, but also just infuse extra revenue into your e-commerce business.
Great, thanks, Mike. So I'd like to extend the offer. If any other attendees would like to ask any more questions, you can go ahead and use the chat box. Otherwise, follow-up questions can be sent to Mike at mike@imshopping.com. That's imshopping.com. And he will follow up with you then. Otherwise, we'll go ahead.
Nick, could I ask you to repeat the email address for two reasons? One, I think you may have given the wrong one, although it does. The one you said does work. And number two, is very muffled when you said it.
Sure thing. So it's mike@imshopping.com. Is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry, mike@nimblecommerce.com here on your screen.
The good news is they both work.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
And I'd love to hear from any of you. And I again appreciate, Nick, you hosting this, and I appreciate the participants taking time to listen.
Great. Well, thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it, and thank you to all the attendees who tuned in.
Thanks, all.
Bye, guys. It was